Hey, good morning, everyone. At least it's morning for me. I'm here in New Jersey. I'm with Liz Scully, who is a friend and colleague of mine. We've known each other for a bunch of years now, crazy amount of years now, right? And I've hired her. I've done work with her. She's amazing. But there's something that we worked on together that I really wanted her to share with you today. But before I tell you what that is, I figured I would let her introduce herself. So Liz, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Thank you very much. And yes, I realized quite how long we've known each other. I was thinking about this morning. I think it might be at least 10 years, if not longer. It's a long time. So
it is.
I'm a business strategist, but my background is in film. So I take all the things I learned in film about how to do marketing and tell stories and create success and create systems that create success. I take all of that and I help entrepreneurs do the same thing. Now, in particular, I work with people in groups because groups is how you make, the community is how you make films. It's that feeling of a group of talented people together who achieve more. And so I only work with my clients in masterminds, which are small groups that work together like pods of people in films, not to be confused with pod people, which is slightly different, but we work together in a group. And as you work together like that, I've found increasingly that I use a lot of my experience because my background, what I did in film was I worked in the animation department, lighting things for big Hollywood visual effects. Yeah, basically, I'm an animator. In fact,
I knew that.
I have a qualification from the National Centre of Animation in the UK.
Ooh, so you're a big deal? I don't think I knew that.
No, I don't think I'm a big deal.
I mean, I knew that you were a big deal.
I'm a very qualified. I'm a very qualified nobody. But this obsession with how things move and making sure that flow is right means that I find that being on camera, which you would think coming from a film background would be very natural for me, but no. Being on camera is actually quite hard for all of us because actors and actresses are trained to be on camera, but crew, we're trained behind. Now, animators are trained to spot what's working, what isn't working. And what Karen and I have cooked up today to talk about is I train people that work with me that learn how to run masterminds. I train them to spot movements that work and movements that tell us interesting stuff, because this is fascinating. When you can learn how, this is a natural movement and this is also natural, but it's slightly out of sync. Things change. And my clients, I have to say my clients call me a witch because I could do this. At least I think the words they use is witch. Might begin with a B.
I wasn't thinking that just now.
No, not at all. Not at all. But it's the part of the training that many people say, I didn't think this would be interesting, but it has really helped. And it's about looking at how we interact, because the first part is you have to realize what's normal. Like, you and I know each other well, but we haven't spent a huge amount of time in person together. But because we've known each other over years, we've got a pretty good idea of, I know what Karen's like, and I know when Karen is having a good day. And I suspect I would think if you turned up and you weren't quite right, I'd think, oh, are you okay? It's exactly that feeling of having it's like things right now. If you can get your eye in for that with friends, you can do it for clients, because we all have these body language tells, like in poker, where you can tell someone's lying or not quite telling the truth or not quite normal. And by normal being how they normally are, it's called a baseline. Because I've also done a lot of training with hostage negotiation. There's FBI training, CIA training, because it's all the same stuff. How do humans behave, and how do they behave when they're being a bit strange? Get this right. And it sounds very complicated, and it isn't, because you're human. You're used to being around other humans. And the same way as you can look at a good friend and go, are you okay? You can look at another human and think, I don't know what that is. There's something not quite right there. So Should I talk more?
No. So let me jump in here. First of all, we have a bunch of people on, people saying hi. So Beck and Alan and Sandy are here, and and Sandra. So on LinkedIn, we had a lot of people LinkedIn jumping in and saying hello. So I'm going to just kind of tie this together for you, because if you're sitting here going FBI negotiation and Zoom calls right now, like I thought maybe I would just tie that together. So Liz and I met in a business program that we took, and you know, you can tell. I mean, I adore her. She's got so many cool things that she does, but her strength, at least from a business perspective, or what was always valuable to me, was that she teaches how to run masterminds. And a few years ago, decided I was going to run a mastermind. And it was a spectacular disaster. Not that it was a spectacular disaster from the client side, because I knew that I wasn't delivering what I wanted to be delivering. So I was over delivering to them and giving them VIP days and all this crazy stuff that they didn't pay for, because I did not know how to run a mastermind, because I wasn't trained. You hear the word mastermind and everybody says, oh, I need to be a part of a mastermind. But without being trained as a mastermind, I didn't know things like how to choose the right people to be together in the group so that the group gels, how they can support each other, all of the nuances that are behind that. And Liz has truly spoiled me now for using the word mastermind, because now I say I'm classically trained in running masterminds, because so many people run things that they call masterminds that are truly not masterminds. And no judgment. I just feel like I can't do that now. Right. So when I took Liz's Mastering Masterminds course, is that what you're still calling it? Mastering Masterminds? Yes. So when I took Liz's course, I realized all of the things I didn't know when I ran my first mastermind. And it was amazing to me. But there were so many things that I didn't know I needed to know, right? Like, yes, I knew I needed to do a better job at selecting people in the groups. And yes, I knew I needed to do a better job with organizing things. But when Liz did a whole section on reading body language on the computer, I was like, oh my gosh, I did not know I needed to know this. And Liz, I go back to that a lot and watch it. I go back to that and watch it every now and then, because just for refresher courses, and because it makes me a better facilitator. It makes me a better coach. It makes me a better strategist if I am reading the person on the other side of the phone or the Zoom call or whatever, if I'm reading them better. Now, I'm qualifying this by saying I'm completely distracted on this call because I can't see the comments on LinkedIn in front of my camera. So I got to keep going over here and refreshing pages. And, if I was doing this on a mastermind call, Liz would be going, what the hell are you doing, Karen? Why do you keep going over there? What's over there that you keep going over there? So I'm qualifying it by saying, but those are the kinds of things that I learned in that. So Alan is saying consistency is the key to be mastermind. In my opinion, that's almost psychopathic. I kind of want to have you qualify that. I'm going to read that again, Liz. Consistency is the key to be mastermind. In my opinion, that's almost psychopathic. So we'll see if Alan qualifies that.
Yes, I'd like to know more about that as well. Tell us more, Alan.
Yes. I'll see if he qualifies that. But that's why I thought, so now here we are, right? At least here, I'm in New Jersey. Where in the world are you right now, Liz? Because Liz is a nomadic entrepreneur. How do you refer to yourself?
I'm in London. I'm at my sister's place in London. Okay. And thanks to the lockdown, I'm here for a little while. And but thank you for that introduction. Much smoother than me, I have to say. You're a consummate professional.
Well, no, it was so cool what you were saying. But I think Alan's saying thank you. Thank you. We still need you to Alan. We still need you to qualify what you said here. Okay, I still don't know what you're saying. So I'm going to have you. Can you type out something? He's throwing words in here and there. So if you can type out a sentence that qualifies that, because I don't want to misunderstand what you're saying here. So because we're all now on lockdown, right, or many of us are, and we're doing an ungodly number of Zoom calls, at least I am, I thought it would be a great topic to bring Liz on to talk to you guys about that, about how you show up on a Zoom call and really understand. I mean, I don't know, Liz, I'm going to kind of let you take it from there, because I know you've got some ideas around this. And I just was like, this is a cool topic to have, a conversation to have right now.
Absolutely. And first and foremost, I think there's a couple of things that I think are really important. First, if you're only just beginning to really dive into Zoom It can feel really weird and not natural. But I've spent, and probably you're the same, Karen, I've spent tens of thousands of hours in Zoom over the last 7 years. Yeah. It is pretty much my natural habitat now. And after a while, and it isn't really that long, maybe the first year, it feels, a year sounds like a long time, I apologize, but it begins to feel exactly the same as meeting in person. And that is wonderful, because for you and I at the moment, if we were sitting on the other side of a table, this is the view we would have of each other.
Right.
And it becomes natural. So if at first you feel kind of, I feel really weird and not kind of relaxed, that gets better. And the relaxation feels better. But eventually you'll get to a point where it feels exactly the same. And
well, let me just can I just comment on that for a second? So thinking back a couple of years to the Periscope days, I don't know if you guys remember Periscope or using Periscope, right? But it was kind of pre-Zoom, but it was kind of the first platform where we had the opportunity to be really chatting with people and inviting people on and jumping with things. And I was a speaker at the first Periscope Summit in New York City a few years ago. And I've been a speaker at many conferences. I've been to, I'm in my 50s. I have been to countless conferences over the years. It was the first conference that I went to that I walked in the door and I felt like I knew everybody there.
Absolutely.
Because we were on camera. It was the most bizarre thing, because it's like just because we hadn't been in person, it didn't matter. And it was a striking feeling to walk into a conference where I'm trying to think if there was one person I could think of. Holly Gillen, who I think you know too. Holly Gillen was there. I think she's the only one I actually met in person before. Everybody else, I think Sue Zimmerman was there. There was a few people, I guess, that I had met in person, but the majority of the people I had not met in person. But everybody felt like a high school reunion. You know what I mean? Without all the drama, without all the clicks and the drama, because it was like, oh my gosh, it's so-and-so, and you got to hug them for the first time. And that is, I think, how Zoom can be once you get more comfortable at it. Is that kind of tie into what you're saying?
Absolutely. And you're right. The only difference is you don't know how tall people are. A few times I've met people in real life and thought, you're really little. I had no idea. Or occasionally they're really
I've done the same thing. I've done the same
exactly.
thing.
Or they have a much different body than their shoulders would let you believe. Either they're very slender or they're much rounder than you expect. But mostly it's height. But part of that confidence and that connection comes from the fact that you can really concentrate on someone's face. And as humans, we are really, we're really built to get as much information as possible. So part of what I'd like to do is just make you slightly more aware of it so that you can get the best out of it. Part of why people think, how did you know that about me? Is because the way we move when we are telling the truth and the way we move when we are feeling less comfortable is slightly different. And if you can learn to, instead of just looking at people as they're speaking, but also paying attention to what they're doing the rest of the time. It's part of what you mentioned was that I would notice that your eye line was all over the place. Because on the masterminds I have, I insist that people don't do anything except take notes and look at the camera, because we've all seen this move, which is somebody checking their phone. Right? You know that they're right. Or that one where their eyes are moving, and you're like, oh, just stop it. So that's my first tip, is get people to do absolutely nothing. So we are very attuned to how this works. The other thing is, if you
I want to just comment on that. So for those of you that are listening, even if you are not knowing how to do this, remember that there might be other people on the call that are paying attention to these kinds of things. So you may think no one knows that you're checking your email. No one knows that you're checking your phone. Your boss doesn't know you're doing this, but they do know. They do know. And that is something that we need to be aware of, whether or not we are paying attention. Know that other people are. And that's why it's important. You know that these kinds of psychological mindset things are important to understand. So that's why as soon as I got on and I started looking over here so I could see the LinkedIn comments, I'm like, oh, Liz is already gone. What the hell is she looking at? Right. So
exactly.
that was what's in my head, because I know. And that's why, by the way, if you've watched my other videos, I start out by explaining, listen, I've got a monitor over here. I've got a monitor over here. Here's what's over here. So if I'm not looking straight at you, it's not that I'm not paying attention. I'm looking, so I explain that now, because now I know people look for these kinds of body signals.
Absolutely. And that's textbook. If you can't do it, it's the same as you would say in a meeting, I'm sorry, I have to take this text. You just explain to people what's going on, and people are fine. I have a client who has 2 monitors. And when he first comes on every meeting, he's looking at the camera that he can see it. And we're over here. And he's like, oh, let me move it over here. And it's as though he stood outside the room and then he comes in. It's such a subtle thing, because to him, it's the same thing. The camera's over here, but he's same thing. So what I learned to do is I try and get so that I can see as many people as possible on the call. You and you're next to me on the call at the moment. It's a split screen. I'm sure that's how other people are viewing it. So it's not worth having, there's a setting in Zoom where you can have one person huge and the other people little at the top.
Right.
You don't want that. You want the gallery view where you can see everybody, the Brady Bunch. And the reason you want that is it's quite disconcerting when there's like one giant head, and then it's whoever is opening a sweet or clinking their coffee mug goes big, whether or not they're speaking. So just make it so you can see everyone. And then I learned, you can probably see me doing it, I've learned a sort of rocking backwards and forwards motion, which allows me to see more of the screen without doing this kind of definite viewing. So that means I can have a little look at what everyone else is doing. So I can look for the sneaky phone viewers. And also, sometimes people are nervous before they speak. It's quite natural. If you're going to talk about something that's quite personal, or you're worried maybe the kids are going to come into the room while you're speaking, any of that stuff, you can look a bit shifty, frankly, without meaning to, just by thinking. And if one person is speaking and you lean back slightly and you just notice that someone has tensed up, because it's things like your arms being in the, as mammals, we like to see.
This is what you do when you talk to Liz on camera. You fix your shoulders, you fix your hair, you lean back, don't touch your face.
Exactly. So I'm trying to get my, I have not chosen my clothes well today. I should have worn a strappy top. But as mammals, we like to see where people's hands are, right? It's like we feel better. Let me give you an example, right? So this is me with a hand, right? That's fine. No hand, it just feels a little bit different. And that's me with my hands. That's me with my hands on the table. It's me with my hands in my lap. It does look a bit weird. Because why would someone be sitting with their hands under the table? This is me doing something strange with my trousers. I'm now rubbing my legs. It's just weird. Whereas as soon as you can see someone else's hand, you don't need to see both of them. But if you can see a hand, then it feels kind of, there's someone I can trust. This is why we shake hands, to show that our hands are empty and we're not going to attack someone. We need this feeling of somebody moving around. Also, you can catch someone's enthusiasm. If someone's sitting there going, yes, I really like that, it's fantastic. Very different from, that's really great, let me tell you about it. So over many years, because if you're coaching someone, you really want your hand, there is a limit to how much you can naturally keep your hand in shot. So I have learned,
especially now, you'll get text message that says, stop touching your face.
Yes. Yes. And that's the thing.
So now we're like,
on a basic level, if you do touch your face all the time, you get spots. Right. So there's a lot of reason. Yeah, you don't want to. So what I have learned to do is play with. I'm a big fan of pencils. So just have something that gives you a reason to have something in your hand and have your hands in shot. My big tip about this is it's good to play with them, but you don't want to do anything. You don't want to do anything weird with it. Most importantly, you don't want I apologize for this. I know it's a morning show. You don't want to be doing this because it's a very unfortunate image that you are projecting. It's very easy to do as well because pencils feel quite nice and you're talking away and everything's fine. You don't want to be, you just don't do that, right? So catch on one end of your pencil, use it as something to gesticulate with. So keeping your hands in view makes you much more trustworthy. It's a really simple thing. It's because it relaxes that part of our animal brains that's going, what is she doing on the table? What on earth is she doing? Makes a big difference. I'll put that down now.
Very cool.
The other thing is important. This is just basic hygiene. I have a lot of hair, as you can tell. My microphone is here. So I normally scoop my hair around to one side because I have a client who has beautiful hair, but it would rub against the microphone. And it was, of course, inaudible to her, but unbearable for the rest of us because it would be the sound. So also make sure it doesn't rub on your shirts. Shirt collars are quite big. So just be aware of that. That makes a huge difference. So hands. Eyeline is important. It is important to look in the camera, but you can do this because obviously I'm looking at you quite a lot and I'm not sort of, so let me look at you. It's quite subtle. Lean in, lean back. That makes a big difference. But it's important to look for when people change. You seem very relaxed now. I can see that you're doing lots of other things at the same time. If 4 different messages came in on all the different streams, there would be a moment of, because there's a little moment of stress as you try and process all that information. And that's important because as a coach, if you see someone who's stressed, what does that mean? Now, in your case, I know what it means. It means you are very professionally managing 16 things at the same time. If I'm speaking,
we have lots of great comments.
Excellent. If I'm speaking to one person and they suddenly go, obviously that was comedy eyebrows, but if they suddenly go, okay, well that's odd. Should we talk comments? Should we look at comments?
Yeah. So Alan's full sentence was like a heist, for example, a professional magician, I suppose, for psychopath and planning an illusion. So I'm still not sure I totally understand it, but I guess what he's saying is like when you're thinking about what you're portraying to other people, what they're seeing, you know what I mean? It's important to understand what they're seeing, right?
Yes, it is important to pay attention. And I guess the magician thing is like where you direct attention is where people concentrate on. Yes, it is important. It's like with hands.
And people are very happy giving them permission to talk with their hands.
Good.
Great information. I talk with my hands all the time. And Christine said the same thing. I totally talk with my hands. So helpful. And then Leo George William Smith. I don't know if I should call you Leo or
Fantastic
George or William, but Leo. Very informative. Never thought about this, but we should think about stuff like this. And I agree, which is why I wanted to have Liz on because I didn't know that you need Alan saying yes. So we interpreted his sentence properly. His things that we are not going to talk about beyond the sentence, but I will tell you the words that I was trying to put together and trying not to assume what he meant. One of the words was president, and the fact that there was psychopath in the next one, I was like, I'm not going to interpret this. I
don't know what that means. I have no idea.
Yeah. So anyway, so people are happy that you're giving them permission to talk with their hands and body language. How important body language is. So Phyllis is saying, I'm going to do an interview series. Should I send my people tips?
Yes.
That's an interesting question. That's a really good idea, Phyllis. Yeah.
Absolutely. I noticed that the fabulous Seth Godin sent out some tips on how to be on calls. And of course, as you would expect, they were mostly fantastic, but there was one in there that I did not quite agree with. So you and I have both got very similar framing. We can be seen from about sort of top of the armpits up. Now, ideally, for body language, it's better if you're further back and you can see more of the person, because this is not possible at the table I'm on at the moment. Because if you can see, say, to about the waist, then you can be more expansive, you're more honest, you're more believable. But if you are, Seth was like, get as close as possible to the camera. Now that is not a good thing. That's just not a good look.
Seth is a guy, right? First of all, he's a guy. He's not like, is my eyeliner straight, right?
No,
like that,
exactly.
You know.
I'm still slightly traumatized for having done that. I apologize to those watching. It's like, so you want to be back a bit, and you want to be visible. So you definitely want to be able to get your arms visible. You don't want to. I'm against a blank wall. So are you, Karen. That's important, because if you've got like stuff going on in the background, I did a whole course where there was one person who I spent most someone else was teaching, but vaguely I spent a lot of time going, where is she? Is she on a building site? Is that a plumber in the background? Like, what is going on back there? Awful.
I know. I remember doing like right now I've got a green screen behind me, mainly for that same reason. Well, it is behind me all the time because I'm doing so many calls, and it's taken the stress of what's behind me off of my plate, right? But I remember doing a session with Sarah Michelle Brown, who I think you know also.
Yeah.
And I was like in my office setting, and she's like, no, get rid of the books. I'm like, get rid of the books. She goes, everybody's going to be trying to figure out what books they are. I was like, good point.
True.
Good point. Like, there's a huge, bookshelf. She goes, everybody's going to be trying to figure that out, right? So Leo's saying, and I wish I could tell you I've never done this. On the recent conference call with 35 business people, one of the attendees decided to walk into the washroom with the camera and microphone on. Everyone just cracked up.
No.
Yeah. And essentially, I was only doing it like I was talking to somebody like you, and I was on my iPad and I was walking around. And then Phyllis is saying I have a guy in my Zoom group who does that. The green screen I have, Phyllis, it pops out, so it's got like a frame. I mean, you see, it's got like a frame, right? So it's got like a frame. And what I like about that is I don't have to leave it. I have like a frame, like a step and repeat kind of frame, but that's a pain in the neck to put up and down. This one, I mean, now it's just up all the time. So I just shove it back against the wall. So I don't feel claustrophobic all day long, but it does like fold up into this like circular bag. And then it's really portable and easy, and I can get rid of it easily. So that's kind of why I went with them. But they also make them that you can slide over the back of your chair, which I've never tried, but I've heard. Really? And for me, it's really about, I love having the green screen, but I also work here, and I don't, and in the room, and I don't want this big gigantic thing in the room all the time, so I kind of love the idea of throwing one over my chair. But it is a nice thing to have because it eliminates what's behind me kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And there's a built-in one in Zoom as well, which I have to say doesn't work well with fluffy hair like mine, but yours is all lovely and smooth, so you're getting a good green screen. That's the VFX person in me. Like,
well, even with the built-in one with Zoom, I use the green screen behind me because I think it just does a better thing. Yeah. The other day I had on this like I had this background, the same background that I've got now, and I had this blue top on that faded into the background, and I looked like I was like floating head. And then somebody said to me, like, it looks like you're in a crystal ball. I was like, well, that's cool. Like I'm like a sage in a crystal ball, right? So so those things are important too. So Liz, what else? Because we're at a half an hour, but I'm willing to keep going.
I'd love to.
What else could we? What else should we know about? Because one of the things I love too is even just talking about, like, one of the tips that you told me, which I thought was a great tip, and you guys that have been on Zoom calls probably. I've experienced this, like, you want to get a word in edgewise, but you don't want to interrupt everyone. And one of the things you taught was like to just kind of go like point your finger and go like this, so people know you're ready to jump in, right?
So you did
it
there automatically. So you lift your finger, not in a pointy way, but just in a one moment, open your mouth and lean forward. Because you will feel like an idiot doing it, because it's right. But people will just like peter out in what they're saying. It is so hardwired into us. So if someone's just rambling on, you lean forward. And also to run good Zoom calls, you are going to have to interrupt people. As simple as that. Just right. That is part of it. And the way I do it is with the same kind of, I want to be very conscious of your time. I want to be very respectful. I'm going to have to hurry you. I'm going to have to stop you here. I'm going to have to, we've only got a few minutes. I want to be aware of it, which is basically what you're saying is shut up and let the others speak. But obviously you're never that that rude. And people are aware when they're rambling. They're aware when they need help. So simply, again, but and people are like, hey,
Yep.
they'll be quiet. That helps. You can also do it in person. If you are sitting next to someone, if you hold your hand near the back of their shoulder or the back of their elbow and just lean forwards, it will do it. And you've done it at dinner parties or when people are sitting at a table, just lean forwards and people are, okay, you have the floor. The other thing to do is if you want to encourage people to talk is nod a lot. So if someone's speaking and just going, yes, 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 you will feel like a nodding dog because it's at least 3 nods and it feels like way too much because really in the modern world, we don't do much nodding, not really. But if you're going, it really encourages people to, it's the same way as you would, because exactly that, that interrupts flow when there's only one person speaking at a time. So you can do it visually by going, and stuff will flow out of people. It's quite amazing. Then you can, but then when you're like, and people will, it's like you're conducting more, less.
So what else? What did we not talk about?
What else? So touching your face, yes, but not fiddling with things because there are people that are earlobe pullers, hair twiddling, none of that. No. You want to touch, if you touch any part of your face, you want it to be below your nose, really, because as humans, we are really good at controlling this part of our face. It's just the way we are because we know how to speak and to breathe. So the eye area is a real giveaway for how people are really thinking. We have very little control over what's going on with our eyes. So if someone's lying, we've all heard that liars don't meet your eye. So people tend to go super still when they tell you a lie. And then when they're finished, they will touch their nose and it's almost always above the top of the face. People, occasionally when people are telling a lie or something they're not proud of, like, I don't know, I ate a whole tub of Haagen-Dazs yesterday. People might begin to cover their face. They lower their face and they cover their mouth. It's almost as though they're trying to scoop the lie back into or the shaming thing. So if, when we're talking, we touch this part of the face, it makes you seem less truthful. Now, obviously, if you've got itchy eyebrows, fair enough. But just try not to. And also look at other people when they are telling things they're not proud of. Little kids are particularly good at this because they have not learned how to cover up these things. So you can, if you have kids at sort of at 5 to 6 age, or you have access to looking at kids, that sounds really weird, but you can see a lot of things that are like, oh, kids are awful at lying, and you can always spot the way they do it. And partly it's they go, no, nothing to look at. So they go rigid, like nice and loose is important. Not touching weird parts of your face. That's quite important. Keep your hands in view. It's all, there's a lot of other little stuff, but without getting into the big stuff, one area to notice is, let's see if I can do this right. So this part of the neck here is, I really have not worn the right things here. So this part of the neck here, you can see it's moving as I speak.
Okay.
So that's me swallowing.
Yep.
So this bit here, when we are about to cry, the vocal cords dry out. It happens, it's that hot feeling you get before you cry, the back of the throat. That's because the vocal cords become very, very dry. And so they're not lubricated. And that's why if you're about to tell a lie, you might swallow. You also get it if you're feeling really strong emotion about something. I did not chop down that cherry tree. Gulp before you speak. Now, before that happens, before the tears, before the hot feeling, the muscles in that area, so we can do it again.
Okay. Yeah.
There. So it's about an inch in from there. Those muscles lengthen, like they're preparing for, they begin to tense. So if you as a coach, this is my top tip actually, if you as a coach can learn to spot that area in detail, if you see something moving in there where people are going, I'm fine, and you see this bit moving, and it's such a subtle thing, but when you get your eye in for it, you're like, what did I just see? What was that? That's the other important thing about body language. We don't know what we're looking at. So it could be the stress of a small child coming in.
Uh-oh. Liz, we just lost you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I back?
No, you're back now. You're back now.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I apologize.
You just froze in, a beautiful position.
I think you're lying to me, but I appreciate that.
Wait, did my thing go?
Yeah. Yes, I recognize that. Also, nobody freezes in a good position. But we don't know what that information means. We just know it's a stress response. So it could be, is someone going to walk in on me? I'm going to tell you something that's very personal to me. It could just be, God, I don't know if I can fit all of this into 15 minutes. So if you see something weird going on, all I do is ask, what was that? What did I just see? And people are very open about it, because particularly if it's a coaching call, obviously you don't want to do it to your boss. If your boss is going, no, it's just you that's having this problem, and you see that, that's not a good thing. But if you think, maybe there's something to look at there, just if you're in a coaching position, if you're in a teaching position, it's worth asking what all that stuff means. It's fascinating.
So cool. So cool. So Liz, how can people learn more about you, follow you? I highly recommend everything Liz does. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't say that. You guys have heard me. I mean, I guess I don't have people on here that I don't recommend everything that they do. But,
obviously.
I do, it's amazing. It's when you hire Liz when you're ready to dive deeper and explode things. Do you know what I mean? Like you need, like you don't, when you are still just trying to grow your business, yes, it's great to know about things like the nerve in your neck and things like that, but you're not really ready. If you though have like Phyllis, who's about to do a summit, right? Like somebody like Liz could be great for you. So tell everybody how they can follow you and what kinds of things you have and do.
Oh, bless you. So thank you very much. And I feel a little warm from that flush of fabulousness. Thank you very much. So my website is rethinkcentral.com. And so that's a good place to follow me. I'm also on Instagram, rethinkcentral.com, and I rethinkcentral, sorry, no.com. I'm also putting together a free course for the pandemic on how to run really great meetings. Now that will be ready next week. So if you follow me on Insta or you go to my website, you will be the first to hear about that. And it's just going to be full of this kind of stuff, because I do think human communication, there is no reason why this kind of online program, this kind of all of the shift that we've done can be a really positive thing. It is not online meetings. It can be every bit as good as meeting in person. Better.
Well, and as we've experienced. So I'm going to put you on the spot here. So most of the people that are watching this right now are watching on LinkedIn. So if you want Liz's course, drop a note to her on LinkedIn, and it'll make her log into her LinkedIn account this week. So my tag her, connect with her on LinkedIn, tag her there, and let her know you want her course, so she'll make sure that you get it. So just in case Instagram doesn't serve you up the content that you want, like, let's be proactive and make sure you get it, because I'm telling you, I'm going to get it. It was so good. Liz, thank you so much for being here today. I hope that you're safe and well, and everyone in all of your loved ones are as well. Yeah, Sandy's saying this was definitely a rewatch, so packed with great info. Phyllis said it was awesome. Janet loved it, so helpful. So everybody's loving you, Liz, as much as I do.
It's been delightful.
Can you put her full name and info here? I thought I did. It's Liz Scully. So Sandy, can you put that in there? Liz, Liz, Scully, Scully. And rethinkcentral.com.
Absolutely. I think on LinkedIn, I'm liz.p.scully. So,
okay. Yeah, but if it's hopefully Rethink Central somewhere on her LinkedIn profile, definitely. You'll know you have the right person. So cool. Liz, thank you so much for being here, you guys. I will be back tomorrow. We'll be back to our regular LinkedIn tips. And this was so fun to do today.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, everyone. Have a good day.